Hi, welcome back. So at this part we are here with our claw and we want to get on with making the actual main claw piece now. So I'm just going to disappear into the front view, and to do this I'm going to use this part of the reference and I'm just going to draw this out with the Bezier curve. So create Bezier curve, and again the same as we did last time, I'm just going to get it the right approximate shape here. Just about like so, and to close the curve, press Ctrl Shift and click on the last point. Now the curve has been closed, we can come up and press Ctrl Shift and start moving out our Bezier curve so it fits the dimensions of this one. And I'm not going to be too precise. And let's go this way. Okay, and that looks about right to me. I might just curve one of these down here, although I'm going to be outputting very low resolution geometry, so I don't really need to worry about curving those. Okay, and I'm going to press enter to close the Bezier curve. Now we've looked at using these curves before to make pipes and stuff. This time I want to use them in a slightly different way. I'm going to select this curve, press Ctrl D, move it out a little bit, doesn't really matter how far. Select first curve, second curve, spacebar, go up to surfaces, and this time I'm going to use loft, which will make a surface between these two curves. Now I'm going to leave it on its default, which I believe it's on, which will be NURBS output. That's output straight to polygons, quads and control points. And loft, and that gives me this, which doesn't really look a lot like our curve, but as soon as I smooth it, it starts to look more appropriate. So a couple of things we can do now, and one of the first things I want to do is to just get a face on this. Now because I intend to smooth this, I cannot simply select the entire edge and then hit fill hole, because that will indeed fill the hole there. But it will cause other problems too, especially during smoothing. In fact, let's take a look. Mesh, fill hole. Okay, so that's just not going to work for a start. If we come over here and let's look at why it's selecting all the way around there, vertex. So that's fine. Okay, but regardless, I'm going to have problems filling that hole in that way, especially when it comes to smooth it later. And this surface is also reversed, so let's just normals reverse. There we go. I'm going to actually use the append polygon tool to fill this hole in. So if you go to mesh tools, append to polygon, it'll highlight edges in green I can click on. So let's try this one on this one. And then up to this one, yeah, that's fine, and then over to this one, no, it doesn't like that. So backspace, take the point away, enter to finish off, and then G to load in the append to polygon tool again, and that time I'll take this one and this one. That seems to have worked, so enter, G, and this one, there we go, magic, whoops. Let's just keep going around with the append to polygon tool here, and that should do it. Okay, so that's given us sort of a basic framework to work with. Now I'm going to come in and get rid of all the faces that I don't need, which would be all these, and I miss one, and it looks like I missed more than one actually. Let's just double click there to get that whole loop, and this face here. And there we go. So we're left with this shape, which we then smooth out. You'll see it's got some problems. So rather than going in and checking these out ourselves, there's a couple of things we can do first. One of them is just edit mesh and merge components. This will merge any stray verts that are left together. The other one is mesh cleanup, which will attempt to clean up the mesh of any non-manifold geometry. So let's just hit cleanup and 3, and now you can see we get a much better result, which has saved us a bit of work. So we can now get this very low poly version back into the correct shape. So I'm going to take both of these and sort of move it downwards like so, and then I'll have to take this one on its own, move it up here, maybe this one on its own, and you can see I'm just getting this very low res mesh back into shape. Okay, done. So there is the very, very low res version. Now let's see what happens when we try and insert an edge loop. And we're absolutely fine to insert edge loops. So we don't really have any problems with the geometry. Not there's actually a lot of geometry to have any problems with. But I'll just select the face now. Select all the faces and extrude. Just change its smoothing level. So I'm going to extrude about that far. I could almost rescale later on. And that makes me like so. I can then start to put in some edge loops to hold the smoothing. So one here, here, here. And before, you know, we've repurposed smooth geometry to help us get a cleaner edge on it. But with this claw, I may just go ahead and leave it smoothed. Actually looks okay when it's smooth. Let me just check that out. We've got an issue down here. Might just be a viewport. Let's have a look. No, we could definitely do with some edges down here as well. Okay, that holds that edge in a bit better. Okay, so we're still not quite there. It's still not looking great, and that's because we need yet more edge loops to hold the whole thing together. So I'll put another couple here, and I'm trying to get these evenly spaced without you know, going bonkers for the sake of the tutorial. And now we're looking a lot better. Let's check ourselves for shape. We're in approximately the right shape. Okay, but this is still pretty unsmooth because we have very low resolution geometry. So let's just go up to mesh and smooth. And now we're smooth, but maybe we're a bit too smooth now. Now we're extremely smooth. Let's knock that down a bit. Channel box, poly smooth face, divisions. Let's try just one. So a bit of a higher res, and then the smooth preview takes us up to pretty damn smooth. Now we've still managed to keep some semblance of an edge. Obviously, if you wanted to keep a really hard chamfered edge, then we'd have to cut out some faces here and repurpose the geometry. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's focus in here, and I can't see what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna move this outwards. Okay, and I'm going to do a face selection. So again, as we've taken smooth geometry like this before and repurposed it, I want to take this smooth geometry now and repurpose it. So I would just extract these faces, then extrude backwards, and, you know, repurpose from there really. To be honest with you though, looking at it, I am finding this particular shape fairly acceptable at the moment. I can kind of see the edges on it. It's not quite as chamfered as it would have been had we used the same technique we did here, but I will leave that for you to do if that's what you want. And I'm going to just move this back to 0 in Y, and then I can pull it out this way and finally push it up this way and get it in between where it needs to be. Okay, and I want it standing slightly proud of our curved surface. There we go. So something like that. I want to actually see that it's not, and it might need to be a little fatter. Just center its pivot before I scale it. So I'm going to come up to modify center pivot. There we go. And just move it a little bit this way. That's good. Okay, quite liking that. So of course now I'd need to duplicate it round 3 times and put the teeth on it. Now before I go into putting the teeth on, because I'm going to show you a different technique for placing this geometry, I want to come in here and look at this back portion. Now I've seen lots of reference where this back portion has holes drilled in it, and I thought it'd be quite nice to show the technique for that. So on the stuff I've seen, this has got sort of 8 holes drilled in it. So I'm going to create a sort of Boolean drill bit, and I'm going to take a, let's see, one of these. I'm going to give it slightly more geometry, so I'm going to go to 40. I'm going to put a bevel on the bottom edge, so I'm going to select the edge and bevel it in. So edit mesh, bevel, and I'm going to put a fairly big bevel on, there we go. And then for this top edge, I actually can't put a bevel on it. I want a reverse bevel, and you'll see why in a second. It's easier if I just build it, demonstrate it, and I think it will be easier to see that way. So I'm going to do a reverse bevel here, for which I need to put, or reverse chamfer in this case, a edge loop at about the same distance as the bottom one, so that might be a bit too much. I'll just slide that up. Then I'm going to select this surface and just scale it up to create a reverse bevel. Okay, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to use it as a drill bit, and that will make perfect sense in a moment. So let's pull this back to here, and for now I'm going to hide this piece, and I'm going to scale this to the right size. So let's scale this in and get it into position, and this will be the position of where I want my hole drilled, and soon this reverse boolean will make sense, I hope. There we go. So I'm going to come in now, I'm going to select the object I want the hole cut in, I'm going to select the object that's doing the cutting, and I'm going to go to create, actually I'm going to go to mesh booleans difference. And you see that's cut a boolean in there with a nice chamfer on the bottom and a nice chamfer on the top. So we've cut a great hole in there, and you know, just having the bevel the right way for the bottom and the wrong way for the top allows you to create these sort of boolean drill bits. So if we just undo that, we can use our duplicate special to create a whole bunch of these drill bits that go all the way around, and then we can use the boolean again. So let's come in and go edit duplicate special. Okay, and in this case I want about 8 of these holes going around, so 45 degrees, and number of copies is going to be 7, because I've got one already. But the first thing we need to do is put the pivot point at the center of this. Sorry, I forgot that fairly crucial step. And this time we want to be accurate. So let's come in and get that right at the center, because you know, these drill bits, they're fairly small and I don't want to be spending a lot of time replacing them around the surface. So that should be about accurate enough. Okay, so with that done, I can now hit duplicate special, and we'll see all of these have gone around the surface. And we'll just make sure that they're all lining up where they're supposed to be. They are. So now all I need to do is select first the main piece of geometry I want to drill into, and then go ahead and select the drill bits. Now some of these might be a bit difficult to select, but they seem to be doing alright. Okay, and this first one even I don't need. Perfect. Alright, now let's try this. There we go, mesh booleans difference, and hopefully that will have got it. It looks pretty damn spot on. And I'm not going to have one up here because I'm going to bring that fin back. So There you go, perfect. And you know, this looks great. It's because of the way booleans work, especially in Maya 2015, they've got a lot better. But because of the way they work, it means this object there would be more difficult to edit. So you should really leave any booleans you want to do right until the end. Because if I wanted to come in now and say put an edge loop around here, you'll see there's going to be a problem. I'd have to re-topologize this whole thing, which you really don't want to do. So as long as you've finished editing your surface, you know, there should be no problem adding these booleans. And these worked out fantastic, I think. You know, they add just a little extra dimension. Looks like you've spent quite a bit more time and effort getting that in there, and you know, it looks very nice. So when we come back, we'll look at placing these claw kind of grabby bits. I'm not quite sure what you call those, but claw grabby bits seems alright to me. And of course we could use the duplicate special on this to copy it here and here, but I'm going to wait until the rest of the claw is done. So I will see you in the next part, and I hope you've picked up a few pointers in this one. Thank you very much for watching.